This is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day today. Guys, have you checked out this woman named Fancy? She's been following the Gypsy Rose case for no lie 7 years. She reminds me a lot of myself in the fact that, you know, she's a writer. Her passion is writing. She was very interested in the Gypsy Rose story. She reached out to the family and said, listen, I want to write something about this. She wanted to write a scripted series, which was very much like what The Act is. She became really good friends with them, so she thought. I mean, she thought she was just so engrossed with the family and both sides of the family. Dee-Dee's side of the family and Gypsy's dad's side of the family. She became very good friends and almost felt like a family with them, only basically to be manipulated and used. And that's just horrible. But that's not where this is coming from. That's not where this is coming from. Because she said, I'm going to follow the truth. I just want you to know from the start, she said, I'm going to follow the truth. Wherever the truth takes me is where I'm going to go. So what happened, according to Fancy, was that she found out so many untruths to the story that it caused a division between her and Gypsy's stepmom, Christy.
Well, I'm hoping she does. Because there is a reason why I come for Christy. Because Christy is who has perpetuated the lies, the misinformation, and everything else to the media for 7 damn years. And she's done it through bullying and through lying. And I'm not going to sit around and stand for that.
She went through so much with a family that she says is all about the con. And unless you have an attitude to be all about the con, it's really hard for people to wrap their head around how people behave. If you don't think along the same lines, you miss a lot of things. And sometimes hindsight is 20/20. And what happened was this woman had spent probably so much money, definitely so much time, and so much of herself in this story, trying to tell a story one way and finding out that everything that she was told was basically an untruth. So the story started unfolding a different way. And when she started going after it a different way, the family had a problem. Gypsy actually threatened her. In jail, Gypsy actually threatened this woman to the point where Fancy says Gypsy is a murderer. She's a murderer. I mean, she's in jail for second-degree murder, and she threatened somebody. That's somebody that can't control themselves. That's somebody that doesn't know how to help themselves. So that's something really to think about while there's somebody else sitting in jail. And as we know, Gypsy said something not long ago about somebody that responded to her on one of her social medias that said, I bet you wouldn't say that to my face. There is so much stuff that this woman has uncovered. And, you know, I know what it feels like to work with somebody and not really have the finances to put money forth, but you want to put all the work forth as far as your writing goes. And then they turn around and sign with somebody else. And in the meantime, you're still willing to do something with them. And you try everything you can try to make it not so that the people that you've just invested time with are just bullshitting you, just lying, using you to promote their con, using you to promote their grift. So I'm going to keep promoting this woman's channel, and I'm going to keep talking about what she's talking about, because to be 100% honest with you, I think that this woman has a pretty damn good idea of who these people are, because she spent time with these people. She has seen these people at their worst and what they think is at their best. Hey guys, you know what I just found out? You're not going to believe this. So I went looking on TikTok because I wanted to put the link to Fancy Macelli, that's her name. I wanted to put the link to her TikTok onto my, the link so that you guys could get it. I wanted to put the link. I have the YouTube link, but I wanted to put the TikTok link because she was big on TikTok. It's gone. Like, that link is gone. So what's up with that? Because this woman has information, and if she's being kept stum, there's a reason for that, and that's not cool. She's been bullied. She said this, that she's been bullied by Gypsy's stepmom. See, there's a problem there. They were going to meet on face-to-face and talk. I don't know what happened after that, but if you guys really have an interest and want to do a deep dive, in the Gypsy Rose saga, like, I'm happy to do stuff and show you things if you don't want to do a deep dive and are just, like, interested. And I'm just scratching the surface. I'm watching her videos and then I'm kind of shortening the stuff so that I tell you. But at least subscribe to her channel, because she has done so much work and has been through so much heartache over this. And I know what that feels like as somebody who has written other people's stories. And, a lot of people say, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then when they read the words, they don't like the mirror. That's what happens. And sometimes you put everything into it, and, you guys make a deal. Sometimes it's on a handshake. Sometimes it's a word. Sometimes it's a contract. And, listen, there was a murder that was committed. And there is Dee-Dee Blanchard, who's dead, who what we watched on television would have you believe that her dad threw Gypsy's mom's ashes down the toilet. That is not true. And you know how that is not true? Because Fancy saw the ashes. This isn't a woman that's making up shit. Especially when somebody has so much money that they could sue her. So, guys, I have to say allegations, but you guys really need to check into this. There is so much information, but at the heart of it, somebody spent 8.5 years in jail or in prison for murder. Somebody else is spending a lifetime and their mom died. This story has so much physical evidence that shows us one way. And then there's these television shows and scripted dramas and Gypsy's Word that show us a different way. And that's what we have to be careful of. You know what I'm saying? Hollywood should have stepped back on this a few times. Like, this woman supposedly has some shows going on. Like, what is it? And supposedly she's pregnant. Did you guys hear about that? I'm sure you have. I think that there might be some truth to it, because the person that had that story has firsthand information from one of Gypsy's really good friends. And that is Nina, the beauty influencer, who's on TikTok. I'm going to share her link. And Rachell Garlick. Now, she is the person that was best friends with Gypsy while Gypsy was in prison. Best friends with her. Gypsy is the godmother of this woman's 2 children. And I believe she named her daughter after Gypsy. They were best friends until Gypsy didn't need her anymore. However, there's a bunch of correspondence that you guys could go. Rachell, I'm going to put the link up. Okay? You can go to her TikTok, and there's a thing that says debunking the act. And then there's another thing that says correspondence with Gypsy. There's also like brain teasers and stuff like that. There's a lot, to her channel. She doesn't want to make it about Gypsy. She's been screwed by Gypsy. And I don't know that they have a relationship today, but I think they had a relationship as early as a month ago. Guys, you got to check this stuff out. But you know how they've already said things aren't as they appear to be? I'm saying that again. Things aren't as they appear to be. So, anyway, obviously I made this already. I made the video already, and I had to stop and put this in it. So hopefully I'm going to seamlessly put this in it. And don't forget, I'll see you guys tonight at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So this woman I don't think could be conned very well. I think that she's got the smarts that they might come a different way, but this woman's going to outsmart them. So let's talk a little bit about this. Gypsy better reel it in, but I don't think Gypsy's going to be able to control herself. I really don't. I think Gypsy's going to get in her own way. Just like a lot of the people that we talk about in Scientology, narcissists, they can't help themselves. But what I want to, and what I think, listen, Ryan, I think that she married Ryan. So she needed an address so that she could get out of prison, so that she can get out of prison. She needed an address to get out of prison. And she didn't want her dad or her stepmom in her business. I don't know if it's to keep the money that they thought she was going to share, because these people, unfortunately, haven't shown up so great either. Isn't that something? Wouldn't it be a kick in the pants to find out that Dee-Dee was the least of all the evils in that mess, which it seems to be is what Fancy is discovering here. So we got to check into this woman and give her some credit, because she has spent 7 years of her life investigating this story. She has all the receipts. She has Gypsy's medical records that people say they went missing. They didn't go missing. Gypsy's last surgery was February 12th. She said that was one of the reasons why she ran away. One of the reasons why she had to get out of there. Surgery after surgery after surgery. She said that she just found out that she could walk at a certain point. But then she says, I knew I could walk all along. Her own dad said, I didn't know she could walk. But yet, they knew she could walk. Guys, we definitely need to dive into this and see all of the stuff that is there to be seen. And I highly recommend this woman's channel, because she's got it all. She definitely has it all. There's a few things that I just want to bring to your attention that I had brought up. And, there's a lot of things that Fancy hit on that I had already questioned, just to be honest. One of the things was the surgeries that Gypsy had. Like, I believed that a lot of those surgeries were actually not done, but that probably a doctor was doing fraud, was doing insurance fraud and claiming that there were surgeries done that were not done. And that, I believe, has been proven. There were also surgeries that definitely did need to be done, but they weren't invasive surgeries. So, Gypsy actually benefited from those surgeries. As far as like stuff like the teeth rotting out of her mouth and such, that's believed to be just poor hygiene, not because of the drugs Gypsy was taking. And you know what? Somebody in the chat a couple videos ago, and I keep forgetting this, they brought up something very, very clear. They said, where were all the drugs that Gypsy thought she needed when she ran away to be with Nick? Now, that is a huge question. Huge. Where? I mean, first of all, if you're a drug addict, that's one of the first things you grab when you go to leave. There's no mention of that. But if you think you really need cancer drugs, leukemia drugs, muscular dystrophy drugs, this and that, if you have all of those drugs and you left the house without any of them, something tells me too that maybe you didn't need them to begin with. Let me tell you something else that Fancy, because I believe she has the autopsy report. Pretty sure she has the autopsy report. It says that Dee-Dee died on the 9th. On the 9th. Nick didn't get in town until the 10th. So you guys still don't think that maybe Nick was unaliving an unalived person? Your adrenaline's running. You think what you're doing is real because you're being convinced somebody's telling you that. You go in there and, I mean, how do you remember everything? How are things messed up? I could see where he could think that Dee-Dee told him no. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it would have to be a crazy and chaotic scene as it is, right? I mean, it would have to be that. So I think Dan definitely has something to do with it. And if you look at the interrogation with Nick sitting in the room the whole time, and there's some clean interrogation video where he says he'll apologize to everybody except Dan. Where does Dan come into play? Because Gypsy knew Dan for a long time. Do you think that perhaps Gypsy had a relationship with Dan? Because there's kind of proof that Gypsy had a relationship with Dan. Actually, Fancy has the receipts. She actually spoke on the phone with Dan. So Dan has said to Gypsy, had mentioned to Gypsy several occasions that they had a relationship. Do you think that maybe they met because of the drugs that Dee-Dee was getting? Maybe Dan? Because, see, he's been in jail and he's been in trouble for selling. Well, she had a lot. Because the belief that Gypsy was addicted, I just don't see any proof about that. I don't see any proof about that. None at all. You know, we're hearing a little bit about Danny Masterson maybe having an alcohol problem. Because here's the thing, if you have an alcohol problem or a benzo problem, which is Valium, Xanax, like that, if you have an alcohol addiction, you can't just go cold turkey. You will die. If you have such a dependence on alcohol, you will go through DTs and you will die from alcohol withdrawal. You will die from benzodiazepam withdrawal. But you won't die from heroin withdrawal. You won't die from opioid withdrawal. But you go through the DTs, and I want to know, when did Gypsy go through those that we don't know about it? And why does she want us to believe that she had a drug problem? And where can you get drugs, a bunch of them, for $50? So there's just so many questions here that Gypsy is seen now saying that, you know, she's really upset with Nick because he wasn't the man that he could have been, and only because if he was a real man, he would have said, no, we have to run away. We can't go unaliving your mom. And, you know, Nick has proof that he said that he wanted to run away and didn't want to do that. And then Gypsy says, and this is just very recent since she's come out of jail. She says, if I would have asked my boyfriends in the past, or even my husband, okay, seriously, she says, if I would have asked my boyfriends in the past, or even my husband to unalive my mom, they would have said to me, no, babe, let's do something else. Let's do something else. Well, that's the reason why you went to Nick, because you were able to convince him otherwise, Gypsy Rose.
Each one of my exes and even my husband is like, baby, if you would have asked me that question, if you would have said, hey, can you kill my mom to get me out of this situation? They would have said no.
To go with, but she never went with it. She never wanted to run away. So I couldn't get that to work. I knew right away that I admitted straight out to the whole thing that I was not going to get involved with this, no matter how much you try to push me.
That's what we're saying. We can't believe you because when you move your mouth, you are not telling the truth, it seems. Allegedly. Seriously, though. You've told so many stories about single things. Not that I expect Gypsy Rose to be on here or anybody else, but just go away. You got a lot of money. Just go away. Like, come on. And, I'm not crazy about the cancel culture, but why do these companies have so much money to throw away? Like, why don't you give it to victims? What are you perpetrating here? Shame on you guys. I'm talking about the companies, the television production companies. Come on, the networks. Man, maybe you got it wrong. You can't keep letting this go like this, though, and give her more money. She second-degree murder, and people are going to give her a reality show? Why? Why are you going to do that? Why? Why are people going to watch it? Are we going to watch her do something? Do you think she's that stupid that she's just going to do something in front of a camera? What's going on here? There are talented writers out there. There are people of substance that we can watch who did strive and survive without the manipulation of other people that we just call collateral damage. And that's what's going on here. All right, rant over. I know somebody was drinking coffee right then and there, right? I wanted to try out this new microphone and also really tell you 100%, really tell you so much about Fancy's channel because she's on TikTok. She's so familiar with this case. She knows it better than anybody. And I don't know this person. I do not know this person. I've only seen her video because I've been doing all this research. I've been reading articles. I've been watching things. This woman has the receipts, and she was very much involved in this. And there is a whole story besides the Gypsy Rose story. There's a whole story about this woman and this corrupt family that she says, and listen, there's no offense here, but there is a culture, and you know how I like to talk about culture. There is a culture in the bayou in Louisiana. And that culture is very different from the culture out here, as the culture in the Appalachians would be different, as the culture in New York City would be different, as the culture in Alaska would be different, because things around that area cause things to be different. And that's my boy. And the whole situation, a lot of people took advantage, apparently, of Hurricane Katrina and of every other hurricane that has gone past that way. And that includes Gypsy Rose's family, according to Fancy. So I can't believe that she would be out here saying stuff that wouldn't be true like that, especially when she's flipping papers around showing information. So I think she was brought into the family to get Gypsy's story across, and then another company came in and started giving them money for their story. And this woman was left kind of holding the bag. But in the meantime, she had all these secrets. She had all this information that she started figuring it out over the course of time, because she was believing everything that they were saying. You know, how great she's going to be able to write this great story, put her name, you know, on a film. Everybody's going to be engrossed in this film because the story itself is fascinating, only to basically be used and to be made a joke and to be used as a distraction. And now, you know, to people believe her credibility is gone, but it's not. So that's what the family's doing now, is they're on attack over this woman that has all this information. It's just, this is just never going away, because the grift is still grifting. It all just leads to these other cheese holes in this story. You know what I'm saying? So guys, I'm going to put up links. I'm going to go ahead and put some visuals in now. So I'll go back to the video and put some visuals in. I'm going live tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with I Am Mrs. J, somebody who knows all about Scientology and ex-Scientologists. And we'll see where we stand. I think we're coming from two different angles, so it should be interesting. All right, guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to try out my new mic. What do you guys think of the new mic? It shouldn't be the number one priority. I want to know what you think about everything I told you about Gypsy Rose, and please go over and check out this woman's channel. She's got a lot more subscribers than me, but if one of you even goes over there and checks out something and finds out information that you didn't know, that's pretty amazing, right? So listen, guys, again, I thank you. And don't forget, communicate in the chat. Like, subscribe, and share. If you don't like me at the end, you can unsubscribe. Thanks, guys. This is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Have a great day.
I have description box below. She also has a TikTok. I cannot possibly get into everything that this woman has found in one video, or even several videos. And there would be no point for me to, because she's very transparent. She is the source, and you go to the source, right? But I did want to talk about a few things.